the first few minutes to introduce yourself? Okay.
Sure,
All
I'll
right.
just get started. Yeah, sounds good.
Recording in progress.
Hello, good morning or afternoon or evening, everybody, and welcome to this session. Thanks for joining me on the topic of the power of OKRs and leading with Obeya. I'll explain a little bit about myself so you know who's talking to you. My name is Tim Wiegel. I'm from the Netherlands. I live in a town next to Amsterdam. And I basically do three things in my professional career. The first thing is I've written a book called Leading with Obeya on how to use the stuff that you see behind me that I will be introducing also in our session. How to use that to bring strategy to execution and to lead teams and organizations. So I'm further developing that method, creating templates, useful content to help others get started with this method. The second thing that I do is I coach leadership teams on how to get started. So in 3 days, we build their entire strategy and we help them get started, changing their management routines and immediately benefiting from a visual management way of working. And I also coach and train their coaches so they can then help support them and do it themselves. And the third thing is I love visual management, as you may have guessed. So I've created these boards, physical boards, virtual boards, templates, etc. You can find all of that for free also on Leading with Obeya. So if you're interested, then please look that up after the session. But now, first, so Leading with Obeya and the power of OKRs, because we're really here to talk about the combination of the two. And I'm going to dive and explain a little bit more into Obeya, especially if you haven't heard about it before. And then we are going to see how these two match up perfectly. And I'm also going to start this presentation with the bottom line of what I'm going to be telling you today. Basically, why would you want to use Leading with Obeya? It's because it helps you build a complete leadership system, both for run and change, bringing strategy to execution and also running daily operations. And why then would you want to do that with OKRs? Because OKRs, of course, are a great instrument for helping to set periodic goals, bring clarity to teams and leadership teams, and support focused strategy execution. So we all know what to prioritize and what to work on first. So I'm now slowly going to build up this presentation and starting basically with the effect or basically the importance of leadership. And also when I was writing the book, I was looking into this and I found there are many definitions for leadership, but I really think this is a very strong one and a very important one as well. Leadership is the ability to transform vision into reality. And I see a lot of leadership talk about vision, and I don't see a lot of leadership talk about reality. So my purpose is to bring vision into reality and to help other teams do just that. And it's really all about that. And it matters because there are lots of organizations out there that are really trying to help make this world a better place, and they can do so much better. And that's really what drove me to be able to finish a book. It's easy to start writing a book. It's not easy to finish writing a book, I found out. So anyway, in my book, there's the leadership system. I describe the system that basically any leadership team in the organization, and it doesn't matter whether you're the board of directors or anywhere else in the organization, if you're a leadership team, then you need to do 5 things anyway, no matter where you are or what you do. And these are the things. So set strategic goals, right? Where do we want to go? Enable the right capabilities. So what is it that we need in order to be able to get there to that goal? How to solve problems structurally with the team. How to plan and align within the team, but also with other teams. And how to support successful execution. So if you are in any team, probably you're going to recognize these things. These are things that you have to do anyway, regardless of what kind of method you use. At the start of my career, I used to think that organizations functioned sort of like this, where you have the leadership system triangles. At the bottom, there's the CEO, and then you have the leadership layers of the organization, sometimes less, sometimes more layers. And surely somebody up there has the overview, knows what's going on, and they are making very sound and very conscious decisions on where we need to go with the organization. And because of that, we have a strong supporting pyramid. But as I progressed in my career, I found that this is not always the case. Maybe I was a bit naive. So I decided to test that with a survey. And one of the key questions from that survey is this one. Management gives direction to strategic goals and helps to achieve them. Sounds a very interesting question also for OKRs, right? So the outcome of this was almost 70% says this is not the case. Wow, that's big, because if that's not the case, then what's this pyramid doing? People are doing different things everywhere, so they're not so aligned as we would like to see. They don't have the overview, they don't set the priorities in a consistent way, and as a result, if the leadership system doesn't work well, then how can you expect people that actually produce products, build products, provide services for customers, how do you expect them to be aligned? They can't. So you need to fix that leadership system. As I said, I speak on a weekly basis with leadership teams, and I always ask them, what's the problem that you're trying to solve? So I have a lot of data, and these 5 things keep coming out with every leadership team. They all suffer from the same problems, so you might recognize them. Fighting fires beats long-term strategy. We have a great plan, but it sits somewhere in the closet, and we need to fix fires now because there are fires everywhere. There's lack of overview. You just don't see the overview. Therefore, there's no focus, and it's also very hard to set priorities. That's something you can fix with OKRs. But also, we're in a team, but we're working in silos rather than together. And there are too many meetings that are just unproductive. Lots of talk, very little outcome. And these problems are structural problems. So what I see in practice is that if you introduce OKRs, yes, they help. Of course, OKR is a very useful system. But if a leadership team is struggling with these issues, then the effects of OKRs are going to be limited. So if you don't pay proper attention to them and embed them in your leadership routines, it's just going to be a paper exercise. If you're too busy fighting the fires, there's no time to follow up on these OKRs. And people start creating OKRs by themselves, inventing them. Oh, I think this is a great idea. Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. So you have too many OKRs everywhere that are not necessarily strategically relevant. And as a consequence, you can't still really see if everybody's aligned, unless you really start building structures. So OKRs help, but they don't address all the problems of a leadership team. And that's because of the fact that there's no underlying system for leading the organization, both run and change, from strategy to execution all the way. So OKRs help and set follow-up on strategic priorities, and that's why they're very useful. But we first need to fix that system as well. Because no matter how hard leaders work, and I've never met a lazy manager or a lazy leader, they all work really hard, 40+ hours a week. They really try to get it done. But if they're not working in a system that helps them do all their 5 leadership tasks that I showed you at the start, then I love Deming. A bad system will beat a good person every time. So where can we look for a better system? And 2014, I got introduced to Obeya. I have a lean and an agile background, and I did many different things in organizations, but I'd never heard of Obeya before. And I learned that Obeya means big room. It comes from Toyota, and they've been using it for a long time. And one of the occasions where they used it, and you see the hint here to the left of me, is when they were building the Toyota Prius in the mid-90s. And why is that such an interesting example? Because the Prius was delivered twice as fast, produced twice as fast as a comparable car. It's twice as fuel efficient. But also it became the most successful hybrid car in the world. So what is this Obeya? How would it have helped the team to achieve this? And if you ask me, I would look for 3 things in an Obeya. First, a committed team with one goal. It was really their goal to get that Prius out on time, actually before time in the end, and make that a very successful car. They were super committed to creating that value. The second thing is you need visual management. So basically visualizing everything that matters for the team and putting it on the walls. So this will actually help them achieve that goal. And that's easy to say, and now you may think, oh, I'm just going to put all my reports and my portfolio on the wall and I will have visual management. But don't be mistaken, because looking at the picture, the black and white picture, it's not a filter. This is a genuinely old picture of a Kanban at Toyota. So they have been using visual management for a long time. They understand visual management. They know how you do it effectively. So it's very important, if you want to start with Obeya, to have a lot of respect for how Toyota does that, and also to learn how visualization would work if you would want to build an Obeya. And the third thing, also very important in relation to Toyota, if you want to call something an Obeya, for me, you need to see structured continuous improvement through structured problem solving. And for Toyota, it's obvious, right? They breathe the air, and the air is filled with continuous improvement. But a lot of the organizations that I work with, I don't see that culture. It's not automatic for them. So if you think, oh great, we want a Prius project as well, we want something of that success, and let's build an Obeya, then don't be mistaken. There's a lot going on here, and it's a lot more than just putting visuals on the wall. But also, the Obeya I'm talking about now is used for building cars, in this case, for the Prius. But here we are with OKRs, and we're talking about strategy execution. So what I did in my book, I took the concept of Obeya, and I looked, how can I use that Obeya concept, not for building cars or products, but for something much less tangible, for bringing strategy to execution. So if you're not building cars and you cannot put the car here, you cannot put prototypes here, then what is it that you need to visualize? And that's basically in the top of the Leading with Obeya reference model here. So these are the 5 areas, and they relate to the things that I mentioned at the start of the presentation. And I'll explain them in the back in just a bit. So these are what do you need to visualize, and there's templates and tools for this. And on the bottom part, there's the principles for thinking and acting. So if we are not like Toyota, what are the things that we need if we want to use Obeya to bring strategy to execution? What are the things that we need to be mindful of in terms of thinking and acting? And all of this is described in my book, and I'll take you through a very short summary in the back. So what does it look like? First, I'll run through the Obeya with you, and then I'll explain to you what where the OKRs fit in. So let's have a look. And let's start at the strategic direction. Obviously, this is where it starts, right? Because here at the very left top part is our purpose, the purpose for the team. So there's one team here, one leadership team. This is their Obeya. This is their purpose. This is what they come out of bed for every day. In this case, you see the example of the bike factory, which is also the case in my book. And this is their purpose. Next to the purpose are the strategic capabilities. And we sometimes call them legs of the table. These are the things that you need to be good at in order to be successful. And quite often for different leadership teams, they have similar topics for their strategic capabilities. The words will be different, but the topics are often the same. For example, for the bike factory, customers love us. Customer satisfaction, we need to have enough customers. Employees, finance, fast and efficient operations, time to market. And then to the bottom here, there's also quality products, safety, security, compliance, and sustainability in this case. So if we do all of these things well, then we are going to be able to achieve our purpose. So this structure basically sets up a room, because after this we go from left to right, and this structure helps a leadership team with walking into the room and then being assured that everything that they need to lead, that they need to manage, that they need to be mindful of, will be in the back here on these walls. So let's take it from left to right from here. Strategic direction. If this is what's really important to us, then the next question will be, how well is it going? And that's where we have the performance board. And the performance board contains indicators, and these indicators tell us, okay, if that's important to us, then how well is it going? Each indicator has a timeline and a ambition line, and on these ambition lines we see, are we meeting the ambition or are we below the ambition? If we are meeting the ambition, the indicator will be green, And guess what? During our session, we won't spend much time on it. If the indicator is signaling red, that means we're not meeting our ambition. That means there's work to be done. That means we have to come to meaningful actions and decisions in this session together. So this really also helps us prioritize. So now we have a structure of everything that's relevant to us for us to do our jobs as a leadership team. And here we have a board that tells us, okay, this and this and this is what we need to zoom into today. This is where we'll be focusing our attention on. So it really helps to understand how well we're doing as an organization. Now, for example, employee satisfaction. We see for months on end here, you probably won't be able to see it, but you can trust me on this. For months on end, we are not meeting our ambition in terms of customer satisfaction. For months, this indicator has been red. So that means that whatever we've done in these past months hasn't worked. And at the moment we've tried things and they don't work, it's probably teaching us that we're not really understanding how the problem works, or what the problem actually really is. And this is where we need structured problem solving. And that's why we have the tough problems board. And in the tough problems, we do structured problem solving. So you may know things like Kaizen or A3 or DMIC. I like to work with leadership teams with Toyota Kata because for me that's a very approachable way and it doesn't require a lot of time to get started and immediately start getting benefits. So you do structured problem solving, and as you are doing this, you should be able to see in your next sessions that the indicator for employee satisfaction will go up. So now you start to see a left to right connection between the stuff that you're doing here and the stuff and the effects of it, so the outcomes. Let's go to the next board, because if you do know what to do, if there's not a big knowledge gap here, then you do know what to do with fair certainty. You can just plan work, right? You can start doing stuff. You can start spending your scarce time and resources on things to be delivered. And so these are milestones, right? So for example, if you work in IT, these can be epics. If you run projects, these are the valuable things that come out of projects. For example, if we do know that the employee satisfaction is caused for a part by the working from home policy, if we know that, okay, then it would be useful to start developing and introducing a new working from home policy. So the milestone here, and this is something we can plan, right? The milestone here is develop and have introduced the new working from home policy. As soon as we can check this one off, we put a check mark on it, then we should hope in the next few sessions that we see the trend of the employee satisfaction going up because of the work that we've done here at the plan to value. So basically, if you look at this, then this part of the board is about the strategic plan, right? It doesn't sit in a closet anymore, a cupboard. It's actually right here. And this is also the place where you have your leadership team meetings. But the thing is, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? So reality hits tomorrow. This is my favorite Mike Tyson quote. Reality hits tomorrow. Suddenly, somebody's not sticking to the agreement. Suppliers are letting us down. Somebody is sick, or we have run into something unexpected. This is why we have the act and respond boards. This was the fifth point also at the leadership system 5 points that I showed you earlier. While we are trying to execute the plan, all kinds of stuff will happen. And this will help us deal with it. So the inbox here is for problems and requests. And then we pick them up with the leadership team. Guys, are we going to do this? How will we deal with this problem? Who is going to pick it up? How are we going to get feedback to see and ensure that everything's fixed? So that's what the act and respond board is for. Now let's look at how OKRs fit in. And you may have already picked up a couple of hints. So first of all, one of the things that I found are really useful to add to the basic structure is periodic goals. And I used to call them periodic goals, but guess what? Periodic goals are easily replaced with a proper structure, proper way of working called OKRs. So this would be a very good place to start working with OKRs. And how do they then add something to this board? Well, because what this is telling us is generally speaking how things are going. These are all the things that are important to us, right? But these are all the things that are important to us. And we use OKRs to prioritize between all the things and the things that we really want to focus on together. And therefore, in this column, you can see where we're going, see how the plan is going, and then decide, okay, for this coming period, for example, I like to work in quarters. For this coming quarter, let's develop OKRs. And then you can use this template. You can download this also from the website. And basically start defining your OKRs based on what you know of the leadership system, based on all your knowledge of everything that's relevant for the leadership team, and then basically add them. Now the OKRs, of course, they, let me actually put that on the board for you. There we go. So I'll zoom in a little bit also. So just quarterly OKRs, very simple objectives, define the key results, and you do that based on your knowledge from whatever you see happening on the Obeya. So let's look at an example. And I've just set up a fictive objective. In this case, so that will be something you will be adding to the strategic direction board. This is where you define your objectives. And what the leadership team of the bike factory is seeing happening is they know there's already an increase in the demand for the bikes. So things are going well. But marketing is also launching a new marketing campaign. So we are expecting an increase in orders. At the same time, we see that our stock is actually getting quite low. And the trend is that if we keep this up, even without the marketing campaign, we're going to run out of stock soon. So this is a problem, and this is something that we could say, okay, for the next 3 months, we need to work on this objective. So increase bike production by 20% to meet rising customer demand and avoid back orders. And then there are 2 key results. Reduce the average bike production time from 4 hours to 3.5 hours through process optimization. And the second one is increase bike packing capacity from 50 to 60 per week by adding a new workstation. So then these are shippable products. Now the first key result, we don't really know how to do it. This is beyond our knowledge threshold. So if you don't know how you're going to do it, then structured problem solving is really a very potential solution. So you can add working on this key result at the tough problems area. And because I've got a blue label with the 1, maybe you've noticed it on this template, I will actually take a blue label with the 1, and I can add this to a structured problem solving template that I'll be using. And with this, I'm marking that this OKR actually belongs to this improvement board. And now I'm starting to see how the OKRs coming from the strategic direction start adding to different aspects, different areas of the rest of the Obeya to help with execution. And let's look at the other one. Increase bike packing capacity from 50 to 60 per week by adding a new workstation. So we know what the capacity for a workstation is. We think that by adding 1 more, we can go from 50 to 60. We're not entirely sure, but it's a very high probability. This is something we can just plan. We can just do that, right? So this is a milestone we can add to plan to value. So again, here we put the milestone on the board. We plan it in July, August, September, maybe somewhere in this quarter. And when we plan it, we can actually add, again, we can add the label to it. So again, these labels are showing us the OKRs that are strategically important, and also where on the board we are working on those, right? So these are the key results, but then you want to see the effect of your OKR. You want to monitor it in the meantime. You're not going to wait for a full quarter and then look at it again, right? So this is actually where we have the performance area. At the performance area, we meet twice a month, once every 2 weeks, to look at the performance. And so we should be able to see, as we are doing this stuff, that the actual increase of bike production will actually meet that 20%. So now you see how OKRs are actually pulled from, okay, we understand the full system of what that we're trying to lead. We see the points of attention. This helps us define better OKRs that make sense from where we're standing. We define them here, and then we track them from different areas of the board. So everybody can see that those things are actually most important and relevant towards our OKRs. So if you look at it in an overview, you agree the OKRs in the strategic direction. This is where you place the OKRs. You can use templates. You can build your own template. Then the key result monitoring is something you do at the performance area. So this is where you meet once every 2 weeks. By the way, strategic direction has a recurring session once every quarter. So again, this fits really nicely with what you would do with OKRs if you use them on a quarterly basis. And then if you do know what to do, you can use them for plan to value all the way to the right. So these would be your initiatives. And if you don't really know what to do, but you're going to be doing structured problem solving, very small steps, keeping improvements going, then you can use tough problems. And by marking them, you can see the connection between the OKR and everything else that you're doing on the board. And then there's something very important, because if you look at OKRs as extra and you're trying to fight fires at the same time, the extra is not going to get done. So what Leading with Obeya does is, by implementing this way of working, by implementing this structure, you really immediately change how you work. So you don't do different work, but you do the same work in a different way. So you have standing sessions, you have very structured meetings that are focused on process, you have a very specific content meeting as well if you need to deep dive into things. And there's much more ownership, overview, much more clear priorities, progress, etc. And the cool thing is, because we have just embedded the OKRs and also the initiatives and everything else on our Obeya, that the OKRs automatically become part of the sessions that we have already integrated into our Obeya. So management teams, when they start doing these sessions, again, it's about the 5 leadership tasks. They don't have to do anything else. So they can skip bilaterals, they can skip certain portfolio meetings, they can integrate most of their work into this Obeya and into this way of working. If you combine OKRs in it, you have a lot of time profit. You gain a lot of time and effectiveness in meetings. And the cool thing about this is, what I've just shown you is a pattern, basically. And you can repeat that pattern. So I do this work for board of directors, for huge organizations, international organizations. I do this for operational leadership teams. I do this for middle management. And on each level, they have the same Obeya, only what is on that Obeya is different, of course, because if you're in the board of directors, you will have a very different level of granularity and detail. You will only see the things that are relevant to you, but also the ones that connect to the next level. So you don't see all the details. And if you do that, you can keep repeating that pattern. And if you would do that in a physical organization, you could actually walk from floor to floor, from department to department. You see the same patterns, you see the same structure, way of working, you see the OKRs, you see the strategic capabilities, how they all link together. You can see the red thread of strategy going through your organization, and it's a two-way connection. So there's always a person bringing information from one room to the other, going from operations to senior leadership and back again, getting feedback, learning and improving. So embedding those OKRs visibly and active in every layer of the leadership system and using it as a leadership system also automatically embeds the OKRs in the normal way of working. So it's not extra anymore, it's just the way of working. So why combine them? As a summary, it's visual, this is fit for purpose. Don't use this type of Obeya for building cars, use it for strategy execution. It's very pragmatic. We've got these meeting routines that you can use. There's templates that really help you get to the point much more effectively in your leadership systems. And most importantly, it's scalable, just like with OKRs. So coming back to the bottom line, why use Leading with Obeya? It helps build a complete leadership system, run change, strategy to execution, and how do we deal with reality tomorrow? Why would you want to do that with OKRs? Because OKRs are a great means to help set those priority goals. Add those OKRs, learn from what's going on, and use the OKRs to really drive ambitious delivery of change and improvement. So how would you want to if you want to get started, how would you do that? You could learn how to set up an Obeya with the Leading with Obeya management method. You can then set up the Obeya with your team, identify the strategic challenges by looking at where are we today, and then start using them for your own OKRs. You can then embed those OKRs in the management routines from Leading with Obeya, and then start building your leadership system one team at a time. If you want some inspiration for this, if you want to look up the book, go to leadingwithobeya.com. You will find the templates and the tools. We update them regularly. You find a free e-learning, and there's lots of stuff to find there if you wanna get started. Also, of course, if you want, you can get in touch with me. Just do that either via this summit or via LinkedIn if you like. I'm always happy to chat about Obeya, so feel free. I think we have 4 more minutes, right? So maybe we can do a bit of Q&A.
Yes, definitely. Yes, you can.
Shall I just go to the top question? Let's see. How do we know that we have to increase that percentage? The problem is that we often set targets based on intuition. I agree. So one of the things that we try to do is not act on assumption, not act on bias, but to get the facts on this board. So these indicators really should help us identify what's really going on. And if we then know that, then the OKRs that we come up with are no longer just, oh, this sounds like a good idea, but you actually do that as fact-based as you can. So this was a question from Diana. See. Oh, I see somebody is saying I cannot see the boards. If you want, the idea was not that you would actually be able to read the boards. The idea is that I'm explaining how the structure works and how the different ingredients on the boards work. If you like to see more on what's actually on the boards, you can also go to leadingwithobeya.com, because there we have a virtual Obeya in Miro. You can zoom in all the way, and you can see exactly what's on this board. It's a demo Obeya, it's for free. So please have a look if you really feel like reading what's on the boards. Let's see, what are the critical things to be successful with an Obeya? I think the 3 things that I mentioned earlier, to really have one team and one goal. The second is the visual management and the structured problem solving. You really need to know what you're doing. A lot of teams make the mistake of just putting visual stuff on the walls and then expecting, okay, something magical will happen. We have an Obeya, yay, but that doesn't happen. You really need to know what you're doing. That's why we have a lot of ingredients to help you get started. But if you like to get started, I recommend at least reading the book or taking a training or asking an expert. We call them specialists, Leading with Obeya specialists, to help you get started. And the 2 roles, maybe also to mention that are most important in making this work. It's the senior leader. If they're not on board, it's useless. And a good facilitator. That's a trained facilitator that knows what they're doing. They can really help a team get up to speed really fast. So that's definitely something I would recommend. Could I re-emphasize how you cascade the Obeya up and down from leadership till each involved team? I see I have less than a minute left, so I'm going to try this very briefly. So if this is, for example, the Obeya of the leadership team of the bike factory, and this is their purpose, these strategic capabilities, then if you go, for example, to the marketing department, they would have their own purpose, but they would have the same structure of strategic capabilities. And this, in case, is the lane that's covered by marketing on the board of directors. But in the marketing area, this whole thing would be focused only on marketing. So you see a repetitive pattern. You repeat those strategic capabilities, but then you fill the content with each Obeya related to what matters for that team. And then you do your sessions, and in these sessions there is an automatic up and down cascade. All right, that's my time. Thank you very much. Hope you liked it. And if you like, please feel free to get in touch.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Tim, for your topic. Really interesting. Okay, and for everyone, did you know that Tim also have some exclusive offer on his page? So you can just go onto his page and just click redeem at the exclusive offer at the bottom of the page. Okay. And after this, we're gonna have a session with Lisa. You can click the link in the chat to join her session as well. And we're gonna learn how she led the teams to embed OKR into delivery at IBM and manage end-to-end AI product. So See you all shortly. And thank you, Tim. Have a nice day.
Thank you, you too.
All right. Bye bye, everyone.